I'm Library Director Sean Briley, and I want to thank you for joining me for this very conceptual look at what could potentially be done at the Winn Room. We'd like to hear from you regarding whether a Winn Room remodel is something you might support, and if so, your guidance on what concept of remodel you favour. It's remarkable how many people the Winn Room impacts. If you live in Coronado, the chances are you've been to the Winn Room for something. The demand for this space is very well established. We counted around 40 groups that have used it on a regular basis over recent years, in addition to ad hoc usage. Furthermore, we're increasingly looking to this space to support major cultural events like the Coronado Island Film Festival and the San Diego Writers Festival. It's hard to underestimate the importance of this space in our community. It's the primary space for free cultural enrichment in Coronado. It's highly used by not-for-profit and other Coronado-based groups. In developing the plans I'll show you in a moment, we've started referring to the evolving space simply as the Winn, which reflects the extent to which this space really stands alone and is so highly used by the community that it's its own venue, beyond just being part of the library. It's also, of course, the venue for library programs. These days, people are coming to the library less for a piece of information and more for intellectual recreation, to have experiences and to share in events as a community. Our programs, which are based in this space, are as important as any other activity that we do. In that sense, this is perhaps the single most important space for the library in the 21st century. The other thing that's important to remember is that we're talking about the only community venue that's free for Coronado groups to use and where all the events are free for the public to attend. When the library was expanded and remodeled 15 years ago, the Winn Room wasn't included. It was left for a later date. In many senses, we're talking today about completing the remodel to bring the Winn Room up to the standard of the rest of the building. The current space was built almost 50 years ago in 1973, and it's outdated. The low ceiling means that unless you're sitting in the first few rows, your view is the back of other people's heads. The acoustics in the room are very poor, and the capacity of the room, at a little over 100, doesn't make it an attractive venue for high-caliber speakers, concerts, and performers that we'd like to offer the community here on the island. In 2019, more than one event each month hit room capacity, and because people have had to be turned away from the popular summer concert series in the past, many of those events have been ticketed in recent years. Here is a quick overview of the footprint of the existing room. I think we all recognize the important role that cultural arts and social events play in the quality of life, and how having these things enhances life in the town and the value of living here. That's really what we're talking about here. All the local groups that use the Winn Room would benefit from an improved facility that offers better visibility, better acoustics, and a little more space. Doubling the capacity, as is proposed, would make better speakers, concerts, and events available to residents. What is being proposed here is a remodel and expansion that will create a state-of-the-art facility for cultural arts that's fitting for a world-class resort like Coronado. And it's going to serve everyone in the community for the rest of the 21st century. Recognizing that there's a need to do something about the Winn Room, the City Council reviewed initial concepts in a $5 to $7 million range and gave permission for those designs to be refined and explained to see whether there's public support and for what. It's very important to ask what drives the cost of a project like this. One challenge is that instead of throwing up a new building on a bare site, we're talking about a substantial extension that needs to be integrated into an existing building and match the design style of the existing building with large windows and so on. A well-built performance space will be designed to have good acoustical properties. Raising the roof height can be a challenge, and we're talking about a large open space without support columns. Whatever the final design, the city will go to full and open competitive bidding to be sure that the best possible price is obtained. Emphasizing that these are pretty broad concepts at this stage, two experienced cost estimators have had a look at the designs, giving us an estimated cost for each option in the region of $6 million. This is the estimated total project cost i.e. including construction, as well as fixtures, furniture and equipment, and an allowance for contingencies. When you think of the price of a home in Coronado, this project, which will give the entire community a state-of-the-art facility for the next 50 to 75 years, could be tremendous value and is unlikely to cost less at another time. The library, the city architect, and the firm of M.W. Steele have worked with a stakeholder group consisting of representatives from the Coronado Historical Association, the Coronado School of the Arts, Coronado Island Film Festival, Coronado Cultural Arts Commission, the Library Board of Commissioners, the Coronado High School Parent-Teacher Organization, and others. This group has reviewed several concepts which have been whittled down from 5 to 3, and now 2 broad concepts which include all the best ideas that have been brought forward for the room and represent what the stakeholders told us they would most like to see. I want to emphasize that both designs we're going to look at more than double the seating capacity into the 200 to 240 seat range. Let's look at the first design, option A. Looking at the image in the bottom right of your screen, you can see that this concept envisions an extension added to the north or park side of the current room, sort of like a pavilion in the park. One of the briefs for the architects was to respect the park. You'll see a terrace in both of the designs, intended to blend the room into the park, optimizing both spaces. Again, this concept is for a glass pavilion in the park, where the audience would sit surrounded by park on 3 sides. Because you wouldn't want to obscure that view, the stage and screen would have to be retractable. Because of the amount of light in there and the need to set up for certain types of events, this design might be more convenient as a meeting space rather than for movies or presentations requiring a screen. As I mentioned, the deck will be an extension of the interior and serve as an outdoor performance stage or space. In both of the designs, access is through a foyer from the front of the library, and in both cases, the room can be partitioned. In the image to the left, the green area represents the extension. To the right is, of course, a schematic view showing a possible layout of the space. The green circles are trees. Let's have a look at the second design, option B. Looking at the bottom right of your screen, you can see a good overview of what this design would look like. The frontage on the Orange Avenue side is the same frontage that we have today, and this design extends back from Orange toward the existing library building behind. The concept of this design is a theatre in the park. Again, an exterior terrace links the interior and exterior spaces and can be used for overspill seating, as a stage for events in the park, or as its own event space. The other thing to notice in this design is that the walls, as they rise back towards the existing building, are uneven or articulated. I recognize this is a short time to look at these drawings, but they can be seen in brief at commentcoronado.org or in more detail by visiting the library where we have a display in the lobby. Again, option B is designed as a theatre in the park. Compared with the first option, the built structure on this design extends less into the park. The stage and screen are to the west end, against a solid wall, which means this is perhaps a better design for movies and presentations requiring a stage or screen. Very significantly, those uneven or articulated walls, along with the sloped ceiling in this design, make it superior for acoustics. There's a little more support space attached to this plan. While the design blends with the existing building, the architects attached to the project consider this to be more of an architectural statement. Once again, the deck and those enormous windows link the room and the park. The entrance will be through a foyer, and the room can be partitioned if necessary. Here again are the schematics. To the left in blue is the added area. This time, the orientation is looking from the park toward the existing library building, where this concept envisions filling the gap between the existing Winn room and the existing library building behind, which is actually where the staff offices are. Thank you for taking the time to consider these concepts to improve the Winn room. Please visit us at the library where you can see a detailed display and leave a comment card, or visit commentcoronado.org to tell us what you think. Thank you.